Welcome to 75 Stories, a podcast created to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Normandale Lutheran Church in Edina, Minnesota.
I came to Normandale as the youth director in March of 2024 and have now been here for a little bit more than a year. The greatest joy I experience in my job is Wednesday nights, and I love 5 o'clock hits. We've brought community dinners back, and kids come and they come find me and say, "Hi, how's your week?" And most of the time it's not even me going up to them, it's them coming up to me and saying hi. And there's a joy in that of community. And then 6:30 comes along and we have confirmation. 8 o'clock comes along and we have high school, and watching kids just laugh with one another is incredible. And what other job do I get to come into work on a Wednesday and there's Wednesday Women's Bible Study and I get to interact with maybe a woman who is 80 years old, and then a couple hours later I get to interact with a 13-year-old. That doesn't happen everywhere in every job. And being able to sit in that intergenerational relationship building is incredible. I think the deepest challenge that I have is there's all of this preparatory work that allows me to be with people and be present and be there in a way that I occupy space in the way that I want to. And for example, if I'm heading into confirmation, if I don't do some preparatory work to figure out what is it that we're going to be learning tonight, I'm not able to be effectively with people. And so there has been a shift for me in expecting my job to be 90% with people and 10% work. And now it's much more like, okay, how can I work towards 50% is preparation work and 50% is with people? And that is a big challenge, to both structure my time in a way that I'm able to do that, and then also not get discouraged when it flips in a way that is unexpected. When a youth director changes over all the time, you run the risk of fracturing relationships because there isn't a steady, consistent programmatic presence, and kids don't have a consistent place to go. The antidote to that is by creating a program in which other people, that's not just the youth director, are actually leading the program. And we're doing that here. We're doing that with confirmation mentors who are meeting kids at dinner, who are meeting kids during worship on Sundays. We're doing that with small group leaders who are parents, who are recognizing kids who aren't just their own and are coming up to them on Sunday and saying hi. And those are people who are experiencing confirmation outside of me. The goal is then to create a program and to create an environment that isn't reliant on a person, but that is grounded in systems that have been created that help perpetuate consistent and constant relationship. Last August, I had been here for 6 months and took a group of 11 students to the Boundary Waters, to the Wilderness Canoe Base, which has been a long tradition here at Normandale. And I was in the canoe with 2 guys who were less connected with Normandale than maybe some of our other students. And we're canoeing along and we're going really far, and they asked me hey, can you tell us a story? I start to tell them the story of Abraham, not as a Bible story, but just as a story about this dude who was married to this woman named Sarah, and that they couldn't have a kid. And they went up to the mountain, and God asked Abraham to sacrifice this kid named Isaac, who he had been waiting for. And these 2 young men were just enthralled with this story, to the point where we get back to the campsite and they go, "Can you keep telling us the story? What happens next?" And so we get into Jacob and we get into Joseph, and they keep asking day after day, "Can you tell us more of the story?" And that's a story that I go back to on days when I question, am I making any impact? Am I doing anything? Is God doing anything in this moment? And I think about the moment in that canoe of, hey, can you tell us a story? And the Holy Spirit coming in and being revealed in that moment, and God working in those 2 young people and in me. And that's what we get to do together. And those two young people were also people who I think other people may have expected to not ask that kind of question. And so youth are constantly teaching me, I can't assume what you're going to ask or what you're going to be like or what you want. And then I have to wait until you tell me, and that I get to respond appropriately, and I get to let the situation take us where it needs to go.
We are so glad you joined us today here at 75 Stories. If you'd like to share your own story, please contact Christy Shepard at kshepard@normluth.org. Join us next week for another story, and share this podcast with your friends and family. We are all part of the Normandale community.